topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
To Triversity Talk. It's Wendy Stewart Kaplan. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. Let me just tell you something. I'm broadcast from New York, and baby, it is cold outside. And as many of you know, our organization, Triversity, the Pride Center, is located in Milford, Pennsylvania, where it's even colder. So no matter what part of the country you're in, if you are someplace warm, just be grateful for it, because we're all dying from the cold up here. So I have a couple of things I just want to share with you. Triversity, our Pride Center, is having a meeting January 18th, which is this Saturday, for a project that we're working on, generously funded by the Stephen Kroll Fund, and the project's called I Am What I Am. It is involving storytelling, art, and we are looking for both teens, young adult age teens, and adults to do this project. So it'll be a 6-week workshop, and you can go to our Triversity, the Pride Center, on Facebook and read more about it. And again, we're having an open house this Saturday, the 18th, so you can find out more there. And you can also go to triversitycenter.org, our website, and read about it there. It's, I'm all about using art to communicate people's feelings. So this is certainly a project that I am very excited about. Oh, and speaking of art, well, first of all, before I get to the art part, I am celebrating my birthday today. That's right. And my computer said to me, happy 55th birthday. So I love my computer. Thank you, Mr. Computer. My guest tonight, it's also my guest's birthday. Isn't that fun when that happens, right? And that was a total coincidence. So my guest tonight is a multidisciplinary artist and photographer, a visual storyteller with, I love these words, provoking thought, challenging norms, and celebrating the resilience and diversity of humanity. His latest masterpiece is this incredible coffee table book called Noble Deeds. And through stunning portraits and evocative imagery, he documents the grand personalities of the Imperial Court, which is a nationwide organization that does amazing philanthropy. We're coast to coast and places in between. And we raise money for other LGBTQ organizations. And I use the word we because I am a member of the Imperial Court. It's just such an incredible organization. And we serve the LGBTQ community, but we also really serve beyond that, entertaining at nursing homes. It's all about giving back. And I can't think of an organization that is just completely about giving back the way the Imperial Court is. Our guest tonight, Ben Fink, has chosen to really document this in a series of portraits, stories that are done in such an incredible style. I am just going to bring him on, and he's going to tell you all about it. Let's welcome Ben Fink.
Hi, Wendy. Happy birthday.
Oh, my God. Thank you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Oh, my God. The greatest people share a birthday.
It's what time you were born?
I was born, what year?
No, what time? See, I'm not going to out your year. I'm not outing my year.
Yeah. Good thing. I was born at 3:45 p.m.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And I was 10:45 a.m. So our paths were destined to cross. By the way,
Yeah.
someone texted me today, there is going to be a comet tonight. Like, I forgot the name of it, but it's going to be out there and it's going to be shooting through the sky. So, I really believe in all of these things. I think that's an incredibly good sign.
Incredible.
So I was so happy to be able to get you on the show here. Ben, I had heard you were working on the book, which I am going to be holding up to the camera so that everyone can see. Noble Deeds. Just an unbelievable, it's a piece of art. And it's not light. I'm telling you, I'm lifting my weights so that I can haul your book around and tell everyone. What a labor of love. You went to your first coronation for the Imperial Court in 2017.
I did in San Diego, and I was completely mesmerized. I mean, I usually like jump up and take pictures right away, but this was so opulent and took me by surprise. I knew nothing about the Imperial Court.
You knew nothing about the Imperial Court. Wow.
Yeah. And a friend of mine invited me, and I went to San Diego and just hung out and just watched the parade around me.
The parade. What was it? Yeah. What was it that left you so spellbound?
It was just the costuming, just the performances, I just never had seen anything like it. I mean, I've been to Pride stuff. I've lived in New York for 21 years. I've been to Pride stuff in San Francisco. I just wasn't expecting this sort of regal, pageantry. And just as the person was being crowned after a very long evening of parade of people, the crowning happened, and that's when I jumped up and took 10 images, and I went back to my friend's house, and by the morning I had created my first piece, and I looked at it, and I showed everybody, and I said, this looks like it could be a book.
Wow.
And that's it was born the next day.
The book was born from 10 images. That is so amazing for you to say that, because it shows there was just something that set you on fire going to this Imperial Court coronation. And you said you didn't even know about the Imperial Court. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening. We are all over the country. It's a big organization. But I guess for whatever reason, what we do is just under the radar. It's just not out there. The pomp, the circumstance, the royal dressing. You know this, Ben. It's based on the court system, right? The royal court. We all have names: ladies, dames, princesses, princes. It's really quite something, and it's very, very complex.
It is. And I was completely mesmerized by it. And I've been doing it. What is now on the 7th year? The book is complete. People keep asking me, "Are you going to come and shoot pictures at coronation?" I was like, "That project is done. I'm moving on to my next one." But just to see this all the way through from start to finish, like the ending, the finishing, was probably the most work. Like from last summer, working on just the layout of the book and working with 3 designers, it took on a life of its own, and which I'm really happy about.
When I looked at it, I thought, I'm surprised Ben has any breath left after doing this. The photographs all tell stories. There's hidden meanings. There's humor. It is really the way that the design, because you just said you work with it, the design is so elaborate in the photographs that you did. So if you can, as clearly as you can communicate this, could you explain the process behind this book? You started shooting individual members of the court. So take us from the very beginning.
So from the very beginning, it was mostly shooting group pictures. So it started out very different. And that there's the image in the front of the book, which you could find, which is the first image I took. And it's a person being crowned, and it's
And it's in the very front of the book. You keep
yeah.
talking, and I'll
And
do the looking.
I and then it changed from me shooting individuals in sort of environments in within the coronations. And then I started, like, the next year, 2018, I started putting up a white background and photographing individuals on white backgrounds.
That's amazing.
And I brought them back to my studio, and I took the white background out, and I created these paintings around the figures that are reminiscent of Renaissance paintings. I mean, it sort of goes through art history. That's not the coronation.
No, I couldn't find it, but this is I see the background. I see where you use the painting in the background.
Right. And some of them are paintings, pieces of paintings. I've been fascinated. I was a painter when I was, in art school. And I've gone around the world photographing paintings, and I like piece parts of paintings, or I'll like use a style of painting that I love, and I'll recreate a painting for the background. But yeah, it just became, I wanted these to be royal portraits. And the way I could create so many of them. I mean, I think they're in all, in the whole body of work, there's like over 600 of them.
All beautiful, all unique. So the process of really shooting people on a white background, now they were fully dressed though, right? They were in their court regalia.
Absolutely. So I put them on a white background, and we would come up with funny body positions or regal body positions. Some of them are, with their hands out and, gesturing. And I knew that I was going to have something dropping into someone's hand or someone throwing something up. And I would do that later. And I mean, I'm a really good retoucher in Photoshop. So, and then I would like digitally create paintings in the background or put them in settings. Like some of them are, there's a few like Hieronymus Bosch that are surrealist. So it kind of goes through the gamut of art history. Yeah. I mean, there's like environments of like Celtic backgrounds and Scottish
on the moors with a Scottish Highland bull.
Yeah. And the guy on the right who had the big yellow cape, I put this huge bull coming up behind him like he was going to be lifted up.
Going to be gored.
Yeah. But with a mountain scene behind that. So they were intended to always be kind of these epic storytelling. And a lot of them have hidden meanings and sort of suggest what the reign was like of that particular emperor, empress.
Right.
That, I listened to their stories and I watched, the themes of the balls. So a lot of that stuff come into play when I went back to my studio. The magic happens back in my studio because I get to go into my imagination. I get to like reimagine these people in the
times we go back to like the 1600s, the nobility and how they lived there. Well, I would love to live in your head, Ben. That's all I can tell you. It's a real fantasy in there.
There is. I mean, I have to say today I was on a conference call and I was talking about I'm planning on doing something on a larger scale and a talk about creativity. And to be honest, creativity, just this world saved my life as a kid. Like I came from a really, interesting background where I was in foster homes and creativity.
I read that and it really, because when I got the book, when you sent it to me, I was so impressed. I thought, how does a human being have the kind of head that can create these kinds of images? What is it in that person? And then when I read about your background, you had you had no stability in your childhood.
Right, right. Which makes for, it can make for something really terrible. Like someone can go really south,
Yeah.
and or someone can go, well, I have to just create something completely different.
Do you think
Like
it was your imagination that saved you? Were you a kid
oh yeah,
you
oh
were
yeah,
a kid that could go to another place no matter how bad things got?
absolutely. And I learned to create these worlds in which I continue to live as an adult.
God bless
Some,
you. I
yeah,
want to join you in those worlds too. I got to tell you.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I typically get up, and people are going to cringe. People can often get emails from me at 3 o'clock in the morning or 3:30.
Is that when
I
you're
get up.
most active?
Yeah, I mean, usually something. I have to say, a nightmare usually wakes me up, and I'm like, okay, I have to change this. I have to change this picture.
Yeah.
So I go and I do something that's sort of inspirational to me, and then I'll start working on an image. And I get myself in a different place, and my day is beautiful. That's
It's
what
very
happens to me.
interesting because as a child, that's exactly what you were doing to get
Absolutely.
away. Yeah, and you carried this with you in a super positive way into
Yeah.
adulthood. My God, wouldn't it be great if they could do that with children that were suffering and coming from homes that weren't supportive? Wouldn't that be great if
It's a,
they could?
it's a, it's an idea that I have of teaching people who are coming out of trauma in a
Yes.
different way. It's actually was a conversation today.
It was, and while
Yeah.
we're talking, it's making me think that would be something so incredible for you to be able to do. You had experienced it, and I look at the beauty and fantasy that you create,
Yeah.
the fact that you can do that and to be able to teach that to other people, to be able to live it, which is not
Yeah.
to say they're not living in the real world, but you're right. You wake up from that bad dream and you know how to change your stage picture. And so much in our lives has got to do with that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I Yeah, it's kind of amazing that I learned how to create this when I was a kid. And that, I part of, I guess, my goal in the future is to try to give this away and help people overcome traumatic situations. And you can see it in the work. Even in the work, it's beautiful, but there's some darkness in there. There's a
There's a lot of darkness in there, but because it's from such a fantasy point of view, it's darkness in like Sleeping Beauty or any of our
Absolutely.
fairy tales. That's the kind of darkness I got from it.
Absolutely. It's about changing it and changing it to something that's palatable
Yes, with a happy ending.
with a happy ending.
With a happy ending. Now, you did not start out doing this kind of work. You did images for cookbooks, from what I understand.
It's funny. I started out doing this kind of work. This is
Really?
my work as an artist and an art school student. I was total fantasy. When I had to make money, I transitioned into photographing corporate USA. I worked for International Paper, FedEx, UPS,
I saw that you work for American Express.
American
That was
Express.
one of my husband's accounts as well. He was a commercial photographer.
Oh,
So
he was.
and an artist, but you can't earn money. Well, that's not true because you're earning money from your art, but for the most part, if you have a skill in photography, the corporate clients are what pay the bills big time.
Yes, yes. So then I found that someone had me shoot some food, and I was very good at it. And I created many of my food clients would say, your work is like painting. Your food work is like paintings.
So you
I
brought
want to
that
reach in and
yeah.
eat what's on the page. And so I've created 300 cookbooks with along with writers and some Food Network stars and celebrities, and it was a fun ride. And I got to work with this beautiful magazine called Saveur. It was the National Geographic of food, and I traveled all over the world with them.
Wow. Did you
And
ever get to work with Anthony Bourdain?
I did not. I did not. But I've worked with equally large names.
I'm sure. Martha Stewart?
Yeah. Martha Stewart called my book in many times. She was mesmerized, or her artists were her art directors were mesmerized by my work. But my work was it looked like Saveur, so it was hard for them to pull that over into Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart is a certain look.
Yeah, it is.
So my work was more raw and real, and a little bit darker and moodier. So it was hard for,
mood, Ben. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, next week I'll be shooting, believe it or not, with McDonald's. I do that. I still have a certain number of food clients that I work with that are high paying.
Of course.
But I'm doing less and less of it and doing more and more work. I have to say, I don't know, Wendy, did you know that one of these pieces in October went to the Museum of Modern Art in Barcelona?
No.
Yeah, it was exhibited in a biannual, one of the portraits of an emperor, a duchess from San Francisco. Bobby
I love our San Francisco court too. They're really a lot of fun. Do you remember which duchess it was?
Yes, it was Bobby Friday from the ducal court.
You don't know what page that would be on here, do you?
You know, this funny thing, she is in the book with MGM, but this was an image. There's so many images that were created in this project.
Yeah.
That this is one of the images that wasn't in the book. It was an image that didn't get published. There's so many great images that didn't get published.
And then when I went through the whole book, and then you come to like this.
Yes, to try to get the volume. There's two spreads like that are.
I got the second one. Hold on, or the first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah, this book turned out beyond my expectations.
Did it really? Because I know it took 7 years, but it looks it's meticulous. It looks like you fully dedicated. This is what I'm doing. It's going to be an incredible work of art.
Yeah. I almost worked on it full time. There's over 10,000 hours in it.
I would imagine. Yeah, I would totally imagine. Do you have any plans going forward? Because I went through the book probably 5 times, because you find things every time. You really have to spend time looking at each picture. Do you plan on doing a gallery showing with any of these?
Well, there's a show right now where I'm in Fort Lauderdale. The show opens tomorrow at the Stonewall Museum. Please come down, see it. It's opening at 5. The opening is from 5 to 8. I'll be signing books. You can get the book. See, there's about 6 pieces in the show, but there's also the history of the entire court system. Not the entire. But what it is, history. It's abbreviated. History.
It's important for people, even now in New York, we go out and we tell people about the court. We have Night of 1,000 Gowns coming up in April. We go to bars and tell people have not heard of the Imperial Court. And I don't understand why. And I guess my selfish personal hope is with a book like this, there's just going to be so much buzz, and people will say, what is the Imperial Court? What do they do? I love when people say, what do they do? It's incredible what they do.
Absolutely. And that's why I said, I didn't know about them, and I feel like I know a lot about queer history, and I didn't know about this.
Right.
And when I came back and started reading, I helped write the history. Daniel Burrows and I wrote the history, along with the help of, obviously, Coco and Nicole and a lot of other people that sort of chimed in. But we did a deep dive into how the court was built. So this was a fun dive, and it'll be a fun read. If you like get the book, read the first 15 pages.
Well, I
And
did
it's
read the first 15 pages. There was a lot of information
a lot
on
of
the
information.
first 15 pages. And the system of the Imperial Court is really is complicated. Even as a court member, I think I brought up in one of the meetings, it might be helpful for new members to do like a tree with like where it started and why it started is really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that I mean, you know, it started obviously in San Francisco with Jose. He was the founder, along with, you know, I mean, there was others who certainly were involved. Ted, oh my gosh, I'm like pulling a blank. I'm just like,
there's so many,
there's so many names.
right?
And, you know, obviously the Queen Mother has picked it up, Nicole Marie Ramirez, and she's picked it up for the past, oh my gosh, has it been 17 years or 20 years? I can't remember. 2016 or 13?
I thought it was,
I wrote all this, and
but I am not. I'm the last one who's an expert.
But I think it's really good for people to really read the history, and I don't want to like dwell on the history because I'm not the expert on it. I certainly help write it.
But here is Mother Nicole Ramirez.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. And again,
it's one of her favorite portraits. She
really?
Remarks, yes.
It's wonderful. There's something, I pulled this one because I just really love it. It's the whimsy that you catch in the face.
Right.
So in these portraits, you look at the person and you imagine what they're thinking. You could write a script or a monologue from what you see in their eyes, in their expression, in their mouth, what's going on for them at the moment.
Right. And it was fun to you do this all on a white background. It's like doing green screen acting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It is working on like a white seamless is now we call it green screen. Certainly with video, we use it all the time. Right. But you're right. It's interesting.
You try to get the emotion and you sort of dream in this nebulous field, and then I get the subject to do a lot of things, and usually we take about 10 to 15, maybe 20, sometimes 30 images, and I'll pick one to work with that I think is compelling, that's not like anyone else's. And the thing is about getting variety when you're doing a book like this or a project
you have to think that way.
You have to think about, oh my gosh, I've done that before, let's don't do that again. Let's dream up something. And usually sometimes the subjects, the individuals will come with a story. They've seen the work in the making, so they come with a story they have, and then I'll bring my story to it.
Of course.
And we sort of make this thing.
It's a meeting of the mind, so to speak.
Absolutely. And I can say many, many times people have come to me and said, I don't know how you did that, but you captured everything about my reign.
Right.
And it's like, I listen. There's a part of me that turns on and intuits their body language, intuits what they talked about when they reigned, or even how they act in front of me. Some people come in and are so like, if someone looks so unapproachable, I let that be, because royalty was sometimes unapproachable.
Sure.
So I let that come through. But so many are warm and inviting, and they're, and how they react with their partner, with their emperor or empress, is amazing too.
You're the director of this film. This is your film. You're the director, and we all know that a really great director has to bring out the best in their people. And you're right. If the person is standoffish, that is something you would want to capture in terms of their personality. And it's not in a negative way. It's just in terms of what is. And I think what's so daunting is the sheer amount of images in this book. I don't know how you kept track of the direction to take people in, because this is like cataloging. You had to have a focus for each one. You didn't want to duplicate the same scene. So what do you have to be thinking to direct your person?
I have a good visual memory. I have a terrible memory with names, but visually, I can almost remember every image I produced in that book.
Incredible.
And there are some overlaps, but I really try to not do that.
Yeah.
I really try to vary it. And that's hard to do when you're like photographing 600 different pieces.
But didn't some come into play where when you were putting the photographs together, you had to have it laid out in a certain way? And I'm not sure if you did it on computer or on a huge table, how to keep things that were similar not together.
That was a daunting process.
It is.
And I had to step away at one point. There was 3 designers that worked on it. Joe Tully was the primary designer.
Right.
And he laid it out. There was a designer in New York. And then there was a designer in Paris. And everybody brought something different to it. Joe,
different perspectives, and then we have you.
Yeah. And I said, oh my God, this needs to be in there. This needs to be in there. And the designers at one point and my editor said, you've got to step back.
Really?
Because, I know a good designer, what they do, because I studied design in school, a graphic design. And I let go and I let them lay out the book to where it flowed color wise. It flowed, people had to face a certain way inward into the book or outward. And the images had to live together,
right,
side by side. And I had to get okay with that. And some of my favorite images, my favorite images didn't even get in the book.
But how did you do that? I was married to a very well-known photographer who passed away. He could never get past his ego ever. And sometimes that was good in some ways, and in many ways it wasn't. So my question to you is, this was your project and you absolutely have a certain taste level. How did you get past your own ego to give it up to 3 designers to know that what they were saying was right?
I trust. I'm also a director. I'm a director of TV commercials and, just photo shoots. And I put people that I trust in control. And I will say what I want and I will fight for what I want. But ultimately, I have to listen to experts. There's a story. My editor, Jay Blotcher.
Oh, I know who Jay is. We're Facebook friends, and
Jay is such an amazing. He has helped me in so many levels. I love that guy. I love that guy.
Yes,
he came to me and he said, I was going to do something different on the cover. I was going to have a crown. And he came to me and said, you have to put something from inside the book. And I said, no one can be inside on the cover. No one person can be on the cover. It's like it has to be not about a person. It has to be about this entire organization. It has to be about an attitude. And sort of there's so many people involved in this. And he was like,
about the cover, Ben, while we're on it, that I want to share. You don't have the head of the person. You have the body with the background, and it's a very intriguing cover. My personal opinion, for whatever it's worth, I don't know if it would have had the same impact having an actual person on here, no matter how beautiful. This is like, whoa, it's a piece of a person with their arm out and the movements of the background going in the same direction. And then the rest of them, of course, is on the back. That is, Jay thought of that? That was Jay's idea?
No, actually, when he told me that, I flipped out. And I said, Jay, we can't have any one person on the cover. We just can't.
Right.
And he was like, you have to put something from inside the book on the cover. You do not want to kill your book with the cover. Like not having your real, your basic artwork on the cover. And I was like, at 48 hours, I said, okay. And we tried 16 different covers. And I laid that out and I sent it to the designer. I was like, what about this? And everybody went, that's it.
Yeah, you know right away. How did you know to crop it the way you did?
We had to use a figure, but I knew it couldn't be about any one person.
Right.
And my friend,
version for people to see, but
I don't know whether you know, do you know William Norwich?
Oh, of course I know William Norwich.
So
I don't
know
William Norwich, but of course I know the name.
Yeah, William is a good friend. And he was like, whatever you do, you have to have a red cover. You have to have red on the cover, no matter what. So he's a well-known editor. I mean, of course he was at Vogue. And then he was at Fiden Press as an editor. He was like, red cover will sell this book. You have to have something red on the book. And I was like, okay, the requirement is red. And now Jay says, I need a figure on the cover. So I just tried 16 different covers.
Yeah, you did it.
And this is the one that I sent to the designer. And I said, what do you think? And he was like, I like it. And then we sent it to Jay and we sent it to William and we sent it to my publicist I would need to give a shout out to Michelle Carlsberg. So, but yeah, it's like, so many great people were involved in this and pushed me even when I didn't want to budge. Like I want to, dig my heels in and
around and say, no, will you do that?
I will, but I will listen to reason and I listen to experts. I've worked with enough. I'm old enough to know that I don't know everything.
Well, that's really great because as you know, there's a lot of creatives out there who do think they know everything. And maybe the reason this book turned out the way it did is you were really able to give it up to equally talented people that you obviously, I would say in your life, surround yourself with. That's
Absolutely.
that's very obvious because they can only make you better.
Right. Yeah. What I love the philosophy of surround yourself that are people that are better than you because it only makes you better.
No, I completely. It's same thing with my girlfriends are beautiful. And I've had other women say to me, why do you surround yourself with beautiful women or beautiful younger women or whatever? I'm like, because it makes me shine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It makes you look like a stronger person.
Right.
It's yeah, I truly feel that. And I'm so happy with everyone who was involved with this. Everyone who participated in the book, who was photographed, everyone who has touched it and made it better. I mean, I had a vision, but it goes beyond my vision.
Well, I want to add in here too, the members of the Imperial Court, they're regular people. A lot of them have corporate jobs. They're retired. They're just people. It's a cross-section of people and your treatment of them. Because when we have coronations or any events we have with the rhinestone jewelry and the, beautiful gowns, and certainly Night of 1,000 Gowns is everyone's night to shine. It's total and complete fantasy, and it is visually gorgeous. Yeah. And in that moment, you can forget who you are, and you totally become somebody else. I have members I talk to. I won't mention names, but I'm like, when so-and-so has a dress and hair on, she's a nightmare to deal with because it affects a person's personality.
It's
so much.
Really incredible.
It's incredible. It's incredible what it does, but that is also the beauty of it. I mean,
it's a magical thing.
It's magical because these are not actors. These are not people going up for Academy Awards. And these are regular people that can take this fantasy to the umpteenth degree, and it is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It is. It never ceases to amaze me.
And my goal was to take them to that next level.
Yeah, you did. You did. You know, you totally did. And so where can people find your book?
Well, they can find it on the website, www.benfinkart.com. That comes directly from me.
Right.
There is a few out there on, I mean, I know they're being offered in some bookstores, but it's very, very limited.
It would have to be very, very high-end bookstores.
Yeah, I mean, it was such an expensive product to produce that the profit is not great. So a bookstore wants 50% off. So when I offer it in a bookstore, it's a loss.
Yeah. I would imagine that it is, but the quality, now you're talking about the quality of the paper, the printing.
Oh, it's an 8-color printing job, which means it was 4-color plus a metallic plus a purple PMS color plus a gray and then a varnish on top of the whole thing.
I just can't even. And you came up with the process of how it was going to be printed.
Well, it was the designer and myself. I mean, I wanted to take it further. I wanted gold leaf edges of the book, like a Bible. And
I'm looking at the book now. I could see that. That would be great. Yeah.
The printer said, "Are you crazy?"
Right. Oh yeah.
It's like that's going to be exponentially more. I mean, it's going to just make the book way too expensive.
Right. Right.
And
a really limited edition. Really.
These are a limited edition.
Yeah.
There's only 1,200 copies in all.
So amazing. With your history in photography and art, would you say this is the hugest project you've done?
It's definite, yes, of my own.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think, yes, this is the biggest project I've done. I think the next one is going to be equally as big, if not bigger, modern mythology.
Oh, amazing. Now, for that one, you had the Imperial Court as your subjects for noble deeds. What is your plan, if you can disclose it, for your next?
Modern mythology is a series I've been working on for 7 years as well. Like I did another project alongside this. And it's more it's erotic, some of it. It's a retelling of stories. It's mostly male driven, and it's beautiful, epic storytelling of men falling from the sky and angels, and it's a fantasy in a different way.
Oh, Ben, you had me at men falling from the sky.
Yeah. I mean, it's Icarus and Poseidon and new characters that we make up, and storytelling. I've written poems and short stories. There was some short stories written around these stories in the Imperial Court. We decided not to put them in the book.
Include them in the book.
But I think they will be at some point when we do a major exhibition, which I'm hoping to do.
Yes.
Is to do a major exhibition that are large pieces. One of the pieces I did a banner that's in Fort Lauderdale at the Stonewall Museum. It's 2 of the figures larger than life. And that banner stands 8 feet tall. And it is epic walking into it.
I can imagine. If you would be so kind when you're there, if you can take a picture of it and just send it to me, because I would love to see it.
Absolutely. I'm gonna bring it to New York. Hopefully we'll do more and more of them as we go along. They're expensive to do.
Of course.
I'm having to watch. I mean, I've already got I've already got the expense for the book. So anything else I'm doing is just me putting more of my resources into it. Yeah. So, I mean, I just created small pieces for this show, about 6 small pieces. But I would love for the 60th anniversary in Palm Springs to do these have this epic show and really showcase. Now, the finished product of these images will eventually be almost like old masters paintings, because I do a technique. They're produced, they're printed, and then I paint on top of them.
Amazing.
And it's an encaustic process, which makes them look like they're varnished old masters paintings.
And these would ultimately be for sale for people, yes?
They could be, yeah. I would love to see them in museums.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just
that was really
love
amazing
what you're doing with this.
Thank you. That I did for the piece in Barcelona. That was that epic,
right,
finish, and
that's why it's
the curator. There was probably 400 images in that entire exhibition. I only got one, and he came up to me and he said, that curator, he was like, "This is one of my top 3 in the whole exhibition."
Isn't that something out of 400?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was, and then it went on to Verona, Italy, to be in the second biennial in Verona. So it was there. So I think it's going to New York next at the not the Armory, but there's an exhibition. So I don't remember.
Yes, I'm based out in New York. If you can definitely keep me in the loop, I would love to be able to.
Absolutely.
I completely love what you're doing. I appreciate beauty, fantasy, and the thing that we said about what can be born out of trauma and using it in such an incredible way. Really, you have a lot to share out there with people. And yeah, I would love to see you speaking on this. Now, you had a TED Talk, did you not?
I did not. Today I had a follow-up call about a TEDx talk.
A TEDx talk.
TEDx talk, and that went really well.
Fingers crossed. That would be great.
It might be even a salon with. It would be in California, and it might be a workshop on creativity. So it could be much bigger. So it's about, and I think it could help young people. It would be done in a university setting, and help people, guide them into working on their passion. My whole thing is about working on what makes you feel good, what you're passionate about, and creating projects around that, even if you have to create them from the ground up, like I did Noble Deeds.
Yeah. But I think you also, and I was going to ask you this, you must have had a talent for this even as a child.
I think it was a talent that I grasped at a lot of things. I grasped at music. I would go to the library and check out records of Bach's and sit and listen to it for hours. I was obsessed with music.
Yeah.
But I couldn't play worth anything. But it didn't stop me. And music is still a passion of mine. But when I found that I could draw and paint, it just sent me into another world.
Yeah.
It gave me control over the world. That's what it did.
Which is something you didn't have as a child. It sounds like it was very out of control. And you did have a gift, though. God bless that you had that gift.
Well, that gift, I think, was born out of a necessity.
Right. Because you had to.
Yeah.
Because you had to. Well, Ben, where do you have any dates coming up where people can come and work?
Yeah, I'll be in San Diego for Coronation. I'm thinking I'll be in San Francisco, Seattle, hopefully Vancouver. Like, I'll be doing these dates through February. I'll be in Long Beach in March. Okay.
And these are all going to be on your website, right? We can.
Yes. April will be New York for Coronation, and I'll be at the center, the LGBTQ
Center on 13th Street. Like
April 4th, I believe. I think that's when it is. The Friday, right before Coronation. I think it's April 4th. It's 3rd or 4th. 4th.
This is great. So people can go to your website and go to the dates. I would love for people to hear more about this. you probably heard me start the talk tonight about what we're doing at Triversity, the I Am What I Am project. This is really interesting to have you as a guest tonight, because what came up for me was you could have been a kid in one of those projects, and what the ability to paint and write would have done for you. I mean, you found your way, you found your artist's way, as we call it, but you did it, and now you're sharing it. And I love what you've done with the Imperial Court. I love this organization. The book is called Noble Deeds by Ben Fink. It's got some good weight to it.
and the forward, I need to give a shout out. The forward's done by Joe E. Jeffries, who's
right.
a drag.
Joe E. Jeffries did, and the forward is really, I've been talking about the pictures, but the forward is really interesting because it's got the history and all the details. Again, I had to go back and read that a couple of times. There was so much I didn't know.
So much information.
I can't believe I've got to rock and roll, and so do you. Our time is up. I do one little thing before my show ends. I always love getting the pictures of my guests. So say cheese.
Cheese.
Or noble deeds.
Noble deeds.
Great. Thank you so much. Just delightful seeing you virtually. I will see you at the Imperial Court of New York Night of 1,000 Gowns.
I will see you there.
And we will have books for sale there, will we not?
We will. They'll be for sale down at the center, and they'll be for sale at the coronation.
Which is great. And I want to let people out there know, if you want to come to the Imperial Court of New York Night of 1,000 Gowns, please go to our website. We are selling tickets. It is an extraordinary experience on so many levels, and Ben Fink will vouch for that. Yeah.
Yes. It's beautiful. I love New York.
It changed the coronation that you went to in 2017, changed your life.
It did. It did.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who tuned in tonight. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.